The Bible Changes Lives. What influenced an anti-social punk rocker to learn to love people and reach out to help others? What motivated a man in Mexico to put away an immoral lifestyle? Why did one of Japan's leading bicycle racers leave racing behind in an effort to serve God? Consider what these people have to say.
I was a rude, arrogant, aggressive person. Dennis O'Byrne. Year born, 1958. Country of origin, England. History, antisocial punk rocker. My past. On my father's side, my family is Irish, and I grew up as an Irish Catholic. I usually had to go to church by myself, though, and I did not like going. Still, I had a hunger for spiritual things. I said the Lord's Prayer regularly, and I can remember lying in bed at night thinking about its meaning. I used to break it down into separate parts and try to figure out what each part meant. In my mid-teens, I was involved with the Rastafarian movement. I also looked into such political causes as the Anti-Nazi League, but I got deeply involved in the rebellious attitude of the punk rock movement. I took drugs, especially marijuana, which I smoked almost every day. Adopting an I don't care attitude, I drank heavily, took risks with my own life and cared little for other people. I was antisocial, hardly speaking to anyone unless I deemed the discussion meaningful. I even refused to be photographed. Looking back now, I can see that I was a rude, arrogant, aggressive person. Only if someone was close to me was I kind and generous. When I was about 20, I got interested in the Bible. A drug-dealing friend had taken up reading the Bible while in prison, and we had a lengthy discussion about religion, the church, and Satan's role in the world. I bought a Bible and started studying it on my own. My friend and I would read parts of the Bible, get together to discuss what we had learned, and then draw conclusions. This went on for months. These are some of the conclusions that we drew from what we read. That we are living in the last days of this world, that Christians should preach the good news of God's kingdom, that they should be no part of this world, including its politics, and that the Bible offers sound moral guidance. We could clearly see that the Bible is true, and that there must be a true religion. But which one? We thought about the mainstream churches with their pomp and ceremony, as well as their involvement in politics, and we saw that Jesus was nothing like that. We knew that God was not using them, so we decided to consider some of the lesser-known religions to see what they had to offer. We would meet with adherents of such religions and ask them a series of questions. We knew what the Bible said about each question, so we could readily see whether they answered in harmony with God's Word. After such meetings, I would always pray to God, if those people represent the true religion, please move me to want to meet with them again. But after months of such meetings, I still had not found a group that answered our questions from the Bible, nor did I have a desire to meet with any of them again. Finally, my friend and I came into contact with Jehovah's Witnesses. We asked the same questions as always, but they answered from the Bible. What they said fit perfectly with what we had already learned. So we went on to ask questions for which we had not yet found answers in the Bible. For example, about God's view of smoking and drugs. Again, they were able to answer using God's Word. We agreed to go to a meeting at the Kingdom Hall. Attending a meeting was hard for me. I was so antisocial that I did not like being approached by all those friendly, well-dressed people. I attributed wrong motives to some, and I did not want to go to any more meetings. But, as always, I prayed to God that He would give me a desire to meet with these people again if they represented the true religion, and I felt an overwhelming desire to study the Bible with the witnesses. How the Bible changed my life. I knew that I had to stop using drugs, and I was able to quit readily. The real difficulty was cigarettes. I tried several times to stop smoking, but failed. When I heard of others who had simply thrown their cigarettes away and never smoked again, I talked to Jehovah about the matter. Thereafter, with Jehovah's help, I was able to stop smoking. I had learned the value of speaking honestly and openly to Jehovah in prayer. Another big change I made involved my dress and grooming. At my first meeting at the Kingdom Hall, my hair was spiky with a peacock blue stripe in it. Later, I dyed it bright orange. I wore jeans and a leather jacket with slogans stenciled on it. I saw no need to change, even though the witnesses kindly reasoned with me. Finally, though, I thought about 1 John 2:15 through 17. Do not be loving either the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. I concluded that through my appearance, I was showing love for this world, and that in order to show my love for God, I would have to change. This I did. In time, I realized that it was not just the witnesses who wanted me to attend Christian meetings. Hebrews 10:24 and 25 showed me that it was something that God wanted me to do. After I started going to all the meetings and really getting to know the people, I decided to symbolize my dedication to Jehovah by getting baptized. How I have benefited. I have been deeply moved by the way Jehovah allows us to have an intimate relationship with him. His compassion and care have impelled me to imitate him and to follow his Son, Jesus Christ, as my model in life. I have learned that while striving to have a Christian personality, I can still have my own identity. I have worked to cultivate a loving and caring spirit. I try to be Christ-like in the way I treat my wife and son, and I care deeply for my brothers and sisters in the truth. Following Christ has brought me dignity, self-respect, and the ability to show love for others.
They treated me with dignity. Guadalupe Villarreal. Year born, 1964. Country of origin, Mexico. History, immoral lifestyle. My past. I was one of 7 children brought up in Hermosillo, in Sonora, Mexico, an area afflicted with much poverty. My father died when I was a little boy, so my mother had to work to support us. I usually went barefoot because we had no money to buy shoes. While still young, I started working to help with the family's expenses. Like many families, we lived crowded together. For most of the day, my mother was not around to protect us children. When I was 6 years old, I fell victim to a 15-year-old who began to abuse me sexually. This abuse continued for a long time. One result was that I became very confused sexually. I thought it was normal to feel attracted to men. When I sought the help of doctors or clergymen, they assured me that I had no problem and that my feelings were normal. When I was 14, I made the decision to present myself to the world as a homosexual. I stayed that way for the next 11 years, even living with several different men during that time. Eventually, I took a course to become a hairstylist and ran a beauty shop. However, I was unhappy. I led a life of suffering and betrayal. I sensed that what I was doing was not right. I started to ask myself, are there any good and worthwhile people? I thought of my sister. She began studying the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses and eventually got baptized. She would tell me what she was learning, but I paid no attention. Still, I admired her for her life and her marriage. I could see that she and her husband really loved and respected each other. They treated each other with kindness. In time, one of Jehovah's Witnesses began to study the Bible with me. At first, I just went along with it, without enthusiasm. Then things changed. How the Bible changed my life. The witnesses invited me to one of their meetings, and I went. It was a new experience for me. People in general made fun of me, but not the witnesses. They greeted me kindly, and they treated me with dignity. I was moved. My good impression of the witnesses deepened when I attended an assembly. I saw that even in large groups, these people were like my sister, genuine